What's wrong with you people?
Welcome to Not Another Baptist Podcast, and at Southwestern Seminary, you can be confident that you will be equipped for ministry by a scripturally grounded and confessionally guided faculty. The Bible is the primary textbook in every classroom at Southwestern, and every member of the faculty is dedicated to the inerrant, authoritative, and sufficient Word of God, as well as the Baptist Faith and Message 2000. Learn more at swbts.edu/about. My name is Matt Inslee, and I am joined by the still first place fan for the first place Texas Rangers in the second base City Connect jerseys, Kyle Bierman.
Hey,
How
man,
you doing,
man? I'm doing well. Hey, again, another week. Rangers are still in first place, and I've seen these City Connect jerseys. You should share the link to anyone who's not a Rangers fan won't care at all. But there's a really cool story behind the City Connect jerseys, and I finally got my hat, and it's even sharper in person than it was on the press release.
I will tell you, in real time, in real life, those unis look black. I mean, it looks great black, which actually is really sharp. And
I believe it's called Midnight Blue, which is like darker than navy, but not quite black, is the way that it was described.
Yeah, darker than their playoff chances. But anyway, Kyle, it is beneficial to have the Royals and the A's there in the early part of
Hey, strength of schedule does not play into the Major League Baseball season at all. You're not having to impress a committee. You just got to win games.
You just win games. That's how
getting an early lead. Getting an early lead, a little momentum.
It doesn't matter if you play the A's or the Braves. A win is a win. Kind of like what's that? There's a million of them, Fast and the Furious, whether you win by a quarter mile or what, I don't know. I'm not even going to try. Anyway, yes, I have watched all of those. Yes, it's been too long to remember. But congratulations, Kyle, on rooting the Rangers onward in this early part of the season. We just swept the Braves, and many are predicting the Braves and the Astros in the World Series. So part of me is like, hey, let's not just tick them off completely. Because stats just end up, eventually you're due. Like that's always my thing, is when the batter's like 0-3, I'm like, don't pitch him down the middle because he's due. Like, so part of me is like, yeah, we swept them. And that's always great, because that means that we ticked off like 85% of the Southern Baptist Convention baseball fans.
That's a lot of our audience there is Braves fans. So
nobody loves the A's, so you don't have to worry. Gloat all you want, although you did lose one to them. Well done there, buddy.
Hey, you know what? You're gonna lose some games to bad teams, but I will say this: the other two games, you've got to beat bad teams really well when you beat them. And so far, the Rangers have done that. And you're right. Nobody loves the A's, not even Oakland. I mean, because they're shipping them off to Vegas.
No.
So,
no, nobody cares about this, Kyle. So what are we talking about today? Speaking of being patient.
Yes.
We're going to talk about tactical patience.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the what the replant team has identified as kind of one of the essential characteristics of effective replanters is tactical patience. And I would describe that as knowing what to change and when to change it, and not just changing things for change's sake. And so I had an observation. This is what made me think we should discuss this one. Matt, I am convinced that city municipalities and road crews will just shut down lanes of traffic for no good reason. Like they'll just, someone at City Hall walks in one day and says, you know what? Traffic on 19th Street has been flowing too well for too long. We need to take that sucker down to one lane for like a month. And we're not going to send workers out there. We're not going to do anything. We're just going to shut it down to one lane because traffic has been flowing too well there. Have you experienced this as well? Like there's just random construction, quote unquote, around.
I think you're making the question far too hard. Is there ever a rhyme to the reason for anything the government does?
That's true. Yeah, you're right. Beyond just city municipalities. I mean, you live in DFW, which is like the capital of, useless road construction.
Yes.
And never-ending construction. So
yeah, Yeah, definitely. We've got one. So there's one easy way to get to Rockwall, and it is a 2-lane road, which is horrible because that's where everybody's going. So
Yep.
school time, but all the time, like it's always moving slow, sometimes much more slow than others. And right now they're expanding it to 2 lanes, and so there's like or to 4 lanes, and it's pretty rough. And but at least to them, they know that there's really no other option, so we've got to do it, little
Yeah.
by little.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I'm with you. I still am wondering what this has to do with tactical patience.
So sometimes in a church, um, as a leader, you can just be so used to charging forward with change without making it clear what the purpose is for that change, right? And so if you do that, it can come off to your people like the never-ending road construction, right? Like, why are we changing this thing? Change with no good reason. Why are we changing this thing? Why does it matter? Why now? And when is this going? When is this change thing going to be over? Right. So tactical patience. You're a brand new pastor coming in, and you have a fresh set of eyes. You've not been in this church for the last 30 years. And so oftentimes you come in and you can see things immediately that you think need to be changed, right? And if you're not careful, it's real easy for you to just come in and say, okay, here's what we're going to change right now. Boom, 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 these things. And they might be minor things to you, but to the folks who've been invested in that church for the last 25 and 30 years, they may not be minor things, right? So one of the things that Mark Clifton talks often about is moving the flags off of the platform, right? That might seem like a minor change to you as you come in. But to folks who have been there for a long time, that may be a major thing. And Mark would say that's not something you do like week one. Like you walk in and say, or Matt, you walk in and you axe the Memorial Day worship service.
Hey,
We
to
haven't talked
my
about that
credit,
in a
that was
while.
completely unintentional. But
That's true.
this is
That's
what
true.
you do on accident after Vacation Bible School when they've
Yeah.
been moved and you just don't move them back, and you just kind of wait them out, just see what happens.
So okay, so that actually is tactical, right? So you wait until there is some sort of a change, and then you just don't bring something back. We did that in Alamogordo with the meet and greet time, right? Everybody, hey, stand up, greet your neighbor. It was Vacation Bible School or Christmas it was something, and we just didn't bring it back. Like we just said, hey, let's just keep the same schedule we had last week. Just run through it. Don't bring that thing back. And you know what? Nobody missed it. Um, you know, things like meet and greet are a little bit easier than something maybe like a special music. If that's a change that you would like to make, I would encourage it. I encourage eliminating special music, but you've got to be tactical in the way you do that because there's maybe somebody in your church who like that's their ministry is to sing Lighthouse, the Lighthouse song once once a month
I
from here
thank
until Jesus
God
returns.
for the lighthouse.
Yes, there you go.
Hey, so I got to tell you this story because it was called timing, and all of it was out of our control. But we at a church I serve, we're in a sanctuary that sat about probably 1,000. And it was long and narrow. And I know I told the story on the pod like probably 3 years ago. This thing's gone long enough. But we had decided we were going to take out like almost half of the pews, all the back pews. We were going to take them out and make that just kind of an open area for coffee, all of that kind of stuff, I guess. I don't know. But when we were doing that, we were moving all sorts of stuff around and moving the stage around, making sure that everybody could see, blah, 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 blah. One of the things we did was, as we're just moving stuff out of the way, we had put the flags back in that side room, and we
Yeah.
just forgot. Like it was there with all the other kind of extra parts of the stage and so forth, because we're just trying to streamline everything. That was also like the Sunday after the inauguration of President Obama. And it was just poor timing because we got eviscerated by a member not really us, but they were just worried that we had cowed to the government because Obama's is the president now and is demanding us, take all of our flags down or whatever, and we
Oh my
kowtowed to them.
gosh.
Like
Oh
that
no.
was like before there was ever QAnon, there was that, and we're like, oh, I don't. It's in one of the rooms. We'll put it back out. Like, no, we got no directive from President Obama for this church to take down their flag.
There
So
was
don't
there was
worry.
no
We
personal
just
letter sent
literally
from
forgot. And you talked about the whole Memorial Day thing. Like that is a great example because there is change that you just rip the Band-Aid off. And there are certain things that you would probably need to do that, but that list is probably pretty small of
yeah.
things that you just need to day one rip the Band-Aid off.
And I
Everything
will say
else,
that I think that as the older you get and the longer you're in ministry, that list probably gets shorter and shorter of those
yeah,
things that
yeah,
you would say, man, this is absolutely a deal breaker. Like this has to stop right now.
yeah. And but yeah, the Memorial Day thing is always a great example for this. If I had known one that politics or not politics, yeah, politics too, but American holidays, the different July 4th, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, all of that was a huge deal at this church, like a huge. Nobody told me, hey, pro tip, if you're on the search team or you're a church member that loves your pastor and wants him to do well, let them know those
Yeah.
kind of hidden, landmines because they're coming in completely oblivious to all of them. But that's another
And
topic
if
for
you're
another
a
day.
new guy coming in, ask
Ask,
that
yeah,
question.
yeah. I didn't ask, they didn't tell. Nobody told me that, hey, on every political holiday, it was like all patriotic songs, all the pledges, all of them, like VBS style, baby. Patriotic sermons, stand, if you're, lost somebody, stand if you served, stand if you love your country, I guess, on July 4th. I don't know. Like it was always something the whole service. Now, if I had known that, I would have drawn up a very strategic plan to kind of little by little pull some of that away. Not, by the way, if you're listening to this, because I hate our country. I love America, but also love Jesus a lot more. And I don't ever want that to be kind of just clouded by all of that kind of stuff. And so I would peel back some of the kind of over the top stuff little by little. And if I had my druthers, pull back all of that. And what we ended up doing was what we did initially. So in this case, I would have, maybe let's pull back the music a bit and maybe make this special a patriotic song. And I'll do the sermon with, some patriotic illustrations, of whatever. And then the next year, maybe the sermon's a little toned down and maybe we don't have special music at all anymore. And of course we do the stand thing. And then the next year, maybe it's just a normal service. But you need a plan for the different kind of where you're going, what you want to see different and change, and know that doing that overnight is probably going to get you packing overnight. And doing that over time, you might can withstand some of that and lead them to that change. Sell them on the
Yeah.
change and lead them to the point where they're like, yeah. And eventually, by God's grace, our people just fell in love with the new approach to all the patriotic holidays. And everybody was on board and people preferred the way we ended up doing it. I just should have done that over time. And so yeah. Kyle?
But you did something important there too, and you did y'all did like a potluck lunch or something like that after the service, and I mean went full blown
Oh,
with
it was
with
it
yeah.
was like if First Dallas did their service as a meal after the service, that's what ours was like. We had BFW doing the flags, we had the national anthem, we had what they called barbecue, brother. I'm not on them, but it wasn't
Yeah.
barbecue that I'm used to. Anyway, we did that. People loved it. We packed it out, man. A lot of people
Yeah.
came.
And so as if you are new to a church, there will be kind of those maybe big obvious landmines that you want to avoid, but there can also be smaller ones that, believe it or not, can get you in the same amount of hot water. So you need to really ask questions. Kind of what are the sacred spaces? What are the sacred cows? What are the hidden landmines? And you don't just want to like pose that to the church, but you want to ask someone who is a supporter of yours and has been in the church for a long time, and where you can say, hey, what are some of the things that I need to like know about? Like, if I don't promote the ladies' luncheon coming up, like, am I going to have everyone mad at me? If I move this chair out of this corner, is that going to greatly offend someone? And that doesn't mean that you never do those things. It just means that you're very, again, here's the key word, tactical in the way you go about it. And you're going to have to communicate often, um, over and over and over and over again, the purpose behind the changes.
Yeah.
Even something as simple as moving a plaque, moving a picture, moving a chair. If believe it or not, I mean, listen, the churches get really funny about about where things are, and so you're gonna have to communicate it until you are sick of hearing it. And about that time, your folks are gonna go, I think this is why he wants to. I don't think he just wants to change for the sake of change. I think there's actually a purpose behind it,
Yeah.
and then it may still take another 6 months.
And and to come back a little bit to that Memorial Day deal, remember some of those, what's the C word, I'm looking for? Not complimenting, where you're working something out, coming into a middle of the road agreement.
Compromise.
Compromise, that's the word I'm like, God, this has been a long day already. The compromise, like, think of like a trade-off. Let's say, for example, you think that your church needs to get with the time and do all modern music. One, I would tell you there's a way to still have some compromise within your service by using some indelible
Yep.
grace or some of the more modern versions of ancient songs. And don't toss out the baby with the bathwater on that anyway.
Right.
There's infinitely more theology and so forth in some of our older hymns anyway, but that's a topic for another day as well. However, there is a way to do it in your service. But if you're going all in on Elevation and Hillsong and whoever else is out there, like, I'm not going to make any comment there. If
Email M Hensley.
if you are, consider like a fifth Sunday hymn sing.
Mhm.
Consider, a night of worship where you do intentionally bring back some of those songs. Bring in maybe in a sermon the story of a hymn. So, like, there are
Yeah.
still ways, because if you have people that were raised with those songs and so forth, and you just rip off that band-aid and they never hear it again, they'll probably go where they can hear it or make your
Yeah.
life miserable until they do.
Yeah.
And, so there are ways to do that, just like that meal was kind of a compromise in between, a trade-off to pull it out of the
Yeah.
worship service and put it into a time that was more set aside for something like that. About the only thing I can't think of a compromise would be if your church is dedicated to a singing Christmas tree. I don't know the alternative there. I don't. So if you have an alternative to that, like a singing Christmas tree, I don't know, in Egypt where you don't have to do it at your church, go for it. But I don't know the alternative.
Yeah.
What other
Yeah.
trade-offs can you think of?
So you mentioned the songs. Here's one thing that our church here in Lubbock has done really well. Um, so the this the our church here is about 10 years into a revitalization. So kind of on the other side of revitalization, and now really beginning to think, what do the next 10 years look like? Um, and so as part of that, we over the years they moved to more of a contemporary worship style on Sunday morning. There's a hymn or two thrown in, but it's very contemporary. But one of the things that our pastor did um, was started a noon Bible study on Wednesday that is geared towards senior adults. So there's 25 senior adults that show up to this noon Bible study, and we sing two hymns. My mother-in-law plays the piano. I pick the hymns, um, and we sing. I mean, Heavenly Sunlight and Victory in Jesus, and the standards that I grew up singing. I love, and uh, not just that, but our pastor will really use that as a sounding board. So if there's like something that's kind of new and to an older generation, maybe really weird that's coming up, like he'll use that time to really talk it up with the senior adults and help get them excited about it. And it's just a time for him to pour into some folks who quite honestly have sacrificed a lot through the years as the church has been revitalized and a lot of changes have been made. And that's been a really, really good compromise. Where they kind of have their time with, small group with the pastor singing songs they know and love. And that has been a major win. In some other changes where there probably would have been a whole lot of pushback, he's been able to get them on board through some of that. It's been really, really good to see.
I think off the cuff, we could probably come up with an alliterated approach to making the change.
Okay.
And I think we'll go with a letter that both the Astros and the Rangers have in common. S.
S. Okay.
Texas and Houston and Astros and the Rangers.
Yep.
Number one, slow.
Yep.
Make it slow. Number two, bringing some of the stuff that Kyle said in with this, sell it.
Yep.
Sell it. Over time, share why you are going to make some of the changes you are going to do, and share and sell how you're going to ultimately get there. Don't let it be an overnight sensation where suddenly, everything has changed and the wall is pitch black and the stained glass is covered and you've got paneling all over your ceiling. I don't know. Like, get them there, sell them. And then three, I had a third. Slow, sell, and what's the third?
I have one. I have one in case you need it. I have two. Steady.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, steady.
Okay. So because sometimes when we say, hey, I'm just going to be patient with this thing, that really means I'm not really going to do anything, right? I'm just going to wait. And I've been there before too, right? Hey, this thing needs to change. We'll get to it eventually. And you just don't do anything. Part of tactical patience, yes, going slow, yes, selling it, but being steady with that and not just saying, okay, we're not going to change this because it's going to be too difficult. If it's something that really needs to change, you need to be working towards that as slowly as it takes, but it needs to be moving towards there.
And that takes us to number four, strategic. You need some strategery, right? Think ahead. How do you need to get there? Where are you going? How are you going to get there? This is where, we had several episodes on strategic planning over the years. Those would be good to rehash. But ultimately, it's knowing where you're going and how you get there. Think about you're going on vacation, the things you got to do. You got to pack. You got to do this. You got to do that. But eventually, you start driving and you make turn by turn by turn by turn. You need to start thinking about that in terms of the things you want to see done at your church. Can we at least get a 5? Is there a 5th?
Yes, I have one.
Go.
And that is sympathetic. Be kind, be caring. If you if you come in, even if it's slow and steady, and you're selling it and it's strategic, but your attitude is, this is what we're going to do, and I don't care if you like it or not, you're not going to get very far. You've got to be sympathetic.
The idea isn't you're doing church wrong. Right. Y'all are doing it the wrong way. Even if you feel that way, apart from a few things, it's how they've done it. Yeah. It's not necessarily wrong. You're trying to give them what you may think is a better way. And so, be sympathetic. It's not y'all are wrong, y'all are bad, y'all need to learn the right way to do this. It's here's a way that we can do this in a way that's going to engage those around us.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've realized now that I'm about 2 years out of being a senior pastor, it finally dawned on me, church spaces carry a lot of emotion with them, right? I mean, so take a sanctuary, like just think about all the important life moments that happen there. Baby dedications, weddings, funerals,
Super Bowl Sunday.
Holidays where folks have their whole family, and like there's a lot of emotion that's wrapped up in that sanctuary space. And so when you come in and you propose something like, hey, we need to change the color of the carpet, we need to change the color of the paint, we need to move from pews to chairs, none of those are major changes, right? They may seem minor to you, but they change the feel of the space, and it's suddenly not the same space where folks have watched their kids be baptized, or where they had their grandparents and parents' funerals. And so understand there's a lot of emotion wrapped up in church buildings. And so even when you come in and want to make small changes, that can be a big emotional change for folks. So be sympathetic to that. You can't approach this coldly because you do not have, if you're a new pastor, you don't have the years and the time invested there that your folks do. And that's not an excuse for not changing, right? It's not an excuse to keep nasty carpet that's been there for 40 years and is unsafe. But it does mean that you have to be sympathetic and caring and let folks mourn as they lose something in the change.
Like the Texas Rangers' new stadium. Kyle's still salty.
Oh,
Ag Barn, Sam's
with
Club.
with the old gem of a ballpark sitting right across the street, like mocking you as you walk into the barn.
Especially if you sit on that side of the stadium, man. I mean, you're just seeing it through the windows.
And
you'll be like a bitter old man like Kyle, still talking about it. How many years later? 4 years?
4 years. Yeah. Well, listen, the new ballpark is not bad. It's a nice ballpark. Getting to go sit in air conditioning and watch baseball is a huge perk. But this is where I'm, as I'm about to turn 40 in about a week and a half. So, I'm hitting that age where I'm getting a little bit of the, get off my lawn, curmudgeonly. But it's a nice ballpark, but it's not the same. And it will never be this. It will never hold, I don't think, the same memories for me that the old ballpark.
It's not going to have a World Series. Well, it will have the playoff game.
I mean, hey, there's already been a World Series championship one there. It was just by the Dodgers.
We don't have to mention that on the pod. Kyle, I appreciate you, and I will tactically be patient with you. And until next time, may your coffee be as black as night and as bold as the gospel you declare. And P.S., if your church does not have memorial plaques right now, I actually saw somebody suggesting this in a group that we're in. Do not, I repeat, do not add them now. Like, don't ever name anything after anybody under any circumstances. Please and thank you. If you have them, good luck changing them.
What's wrong with you people?